Owning your story changes everything. Introduction: every single person you meet is carrying a story. Some are stories of triumph, some of heartbreak, and some are still being written. But there's a truth that changes everything the moment we own our story, every part of it, the beautiful, the messy, the painful. We begin to live a life of courage, connection, and authenticity. Today, I want to explore how owning your story can truly transform the way you live, love, and lead. And I'll break it down into 6 key ideas that can help us all step into our stories fully and unapologetically. Courage starts with truth. Owning your story begins with acknowledging the truth of your life. The courage to say, this is my story and it's okay to be seen as transformational. Truth is not just about facts, it's about the emotions, the experiences, and the moments that shaped you. When we hide our story, we hide our power. Owning it is the first step to freedom. And vulnerability is strength. Sharing your story makes you vulnerable, but vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability builds connection, empathy, and trust with others. The more willing you are to reveal your true self, the more resilient and authentic you become. Owning your story is about leaning into discomfort instead of running from it. Shame cannot survive exposure. Shame thrives in secrecy. Regret, guilt, and self-judgment grow when we hide our story. Speaking your truth, writing it, sharing it, owning it diminishes shame. We are not defined by our mistakes. We are defined by how we embrace them and learn. Sharing stories can liberate not just ourselves, but also inspire others. Embracing imperfection unlocks growth. No story is perfect, and no life is without flaws. And owning your story means letting go of the need to look flawless or have it all together. Growth comes when we accept our imperfect journey and turn challenges into lessons. Authenticity grows when we allow ourselves to be real, messy, and human. Connection comes through authenticity. Relationships thrive on honesty, not pretense. When you own your story, you invite others to do the same, creating deeper bonds. Sharing experiences, even the difficult ones, builds empathy and community. Your story becomes a bridge, not a barrier to meaningful human connection. Your story is your superpower. Owning your story gives you the power to write your future intentionally. The experiences that once felt like burdens become sources of wisdom and strength. By embracing your narrative fully, you inspire others to embrace theirs. Your story is not just about surviving, it's about thriving and leaving a legacy. Courage starts with truth. Courage is often misunderstood. We think courage is about grand heroic acts, standing on a stage, or facing life-threatening challenges. But real courage, the kind that transforms our lives, begins quietly, almost imperceptibly, with the decision to face our own truth. Owning your story starts with acknowledging who you really are, your experiences, your emotions, your failures, and your triumphs. It begins with a simple but profound statement. This is my story, and it's okay to be seen. Many of us go through life hiding parts of ourselves, believing that if others saw our struggles, our mistakes, or our vulnerabilities, we wouldn't be worthy of love, respect, or acceptance. We tuck away pieces of our story because they feel uncomfortable, shameful, or embarrassing. We edit, censor, or even rewrite our narrative to fit what we think the world wants to hear. But every time we hide, we dim our own light. We limit our potential. We create a barrier between who we are and the life we are capable of living. Courage starts with the truth because truth is powerful. It is the foundation upon which authenticity is built. When you acknowledge your story, you take responsibility for your life. You stop pretending, stop comparing, and stop living in the shadows of someone else's expectations. You face your fears and admit to yourself, yes, I have struggled. Yes, I have failed. Yes, I am still learning. And in that admission, something remarkable happens. You reclaim your power. Owning your story doesn't mean you have to share it with the world immediately, nor does it mean reliving every painful memory endlessly. It means looking at yourself honestly and embracing every part of who you are without apology or avoidance. It's about recognizing that your story, with all its messiness, is valuable. It has shaped your perspective, your resilience, and your capacity to connect with others. There's also a liberating ripple effect. When you have the courage to face your own truth, it becomes easier to show up authentically in your relationships at work and in your community. You stop performing a version of yourself for approval. You stop bending your identity to fit someone else's narrative. And as a result, you inspire others to do the same. Courage is contagious. The moment you claim your story, you give permission to others to claim theirs. So the first step in changing everything is simple but profound: embrace your truth. Stand in it fully without hiding or diminishing it. Celebrate the parts that are proud and acknowledge the parts that hurt. Every moment of courage you practice by owning your story strengthens your authenticity muscle and brings you closer to living a life that is meaningful, connected, and whole. Remember, courage is not a roar. It is a choice, a quiet, brave choice to face your story, every part of it, with honesty and compassion. And it is in that courage, in that embrace of truth, that transformation begins. Vulnerability is strength. Vulnerability is one of the most misunderstood concepts in our society. We often associate it with weakness, fragility, or exposure to harm. But in reality, vulnerability is the birthplace of courage, connection, and creativity. Owning your story requires vulnerability because it asks us to show up fully, without masks, and to embrace the parts of ourselves we usually keep hidden. It's not easy, and that's exactly why it is so powerful. Think about it every time you share a part of your story, your fears, your failures, your insecurities. You are making yourself visible in a world that often rewards perfection and strength. That act alone takes immense courage. It requires the willingness to risk judgment, rejection, or misunderstanding. But it is also through vulnerability that we experience true growth and transformation. Hiding our story might feel safe, but it comes at a cost: disconnection, shame, and a sense of living only partially. Vulnerability is not about oversharing or being reckless with your emotions. It's about being honest and authentic in the spaces that matter. It's about saying, here I am, this is who I am, this is what I've been through. It's about showing your humanity and trusting that being seen for who you truly are is more important than hiding behind a facade of perfection. When you practice vulnerability, you allow yourself to be fully present in life, to engage deeply with others, and to create meaningful relationships. There's an incredible paradox in vulnerability. The more open we are about our struggles, the stronger we become. When you own your story and share it authentically, you stop carrying the weight of secrecy and shame. You become resilient because you are no longer defined by what you hide. You become brave because each act of vulnerability reinforces your confidence in your worth. You inspire courage in others, creating a ripple effect of honesty and connection. Vulnerability also fuels creativity and innovation. Think about artists, leaders, and visionaries. They take risks because they are willing to expose ideas that are not yet polished, to show work that is not yet perfect. By owning their story, their experiences, and their unique perspectives, they create something new, something impactful. Vulnerability allows us to step into unknown territory, to embrace uncertainty, and to grow beyond the limits of fear. Ultimately, vulnerability is a strength because it bridges the gap between isolation and connection. It is the glue that transforms our personal stories into shared human experiences. When we embrace vulnerability, we give ourselves permission to be imperfect, authentic, and fully alive. And in doing so, we change not just our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. Remember, courage and vulnerability are inseparable. Owning your story requires both. The more you dare to be vulnerable, the more you reclaim your power, your authenticity, and your ability to connect deeply with the world. Vulnerability is not the opposite of strength, it is the essence of it. Shame cannot survive exposure. Shame is one of the most powerful emotions we experience, and yet it is one of the most misunderstood. It is that quiet, persistent voice inside that tells us you are not enough, you are flawed, or if people really knew the truth about you, they would reject you. Shame thrives in secrecy. The stories we hide, the mistakes we are embarrassed about, the regrets we try to erase, the aspects of ourselves we keep locked away, shame grows stronger in the darkness. Owning your story, however, is the antidote to shame. When we bring our experiences into the light, when we speak our truth, share our struggles, and acknowledge our imperfections, we reduce shame's power over us. Shame cannot survive exposure. By naming it, by giving it words, we take it out of hiding and reclaim our power. Each time we tell our story, each time we admit, I am human, I make mistakes, and I am learning, we chip away at the grip of shame and allow ourselves to move toward freedom. It is important to understand that shame is universal. Every human being experiences it in some form, We feel ashamed of our failures, our bodies, our choices, or even our desires. But the problem is not shame itself, it's the silence that surrounds it. When we believe we are the only ones struggling, when we keep our stories hidden out of fear or embarrassment, shame gains strength. But when we share our experiences with trusted people, shame loses its power, and connection and empathy grow. Sharing your story is not easy. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to be seen as imperfect. It may feel risky, you may worry about judgment or rejection. But vulnerability transforms shame into something meaningful. When we talk about our struggles, others see themselves in us. Our experiences resonate and remind others that they are not alone. This creates community, understanding, and healing. Your story becomes a bridge for others to embrace their own lives with compassion. Owning your story also reframes your relationship with yourself. Instead of letting shame dictate how you see your worth, you learn to see your story as a whole, your successes, your failures, your pain, and your joy as valuable and essential to who you are. You stop punishing yourself for what has happened and begin to learn from it. Your narrative shifts from one of blame and self-condemnation to one of resilience and empowerment. Finally, embracing your story and exposing shame allows you to step fully into authenticity. You stop hiding behind masks or trying to meet impossible expectations. You step into life as your full self, and the world responds to that honesty with respect, connection, and love. The liberation that comes from telling your story is profound. You realize that your worth is not contingent on perfection. It is inherent in your humanity. Remember, shame cannot survive exposure. The moment you claim your story, speak your truth, and allow yourself to be seen, shame loses its hold. And in that freedom, transformation begins not just for you, but for everyone your story touches. Embracing imperfection unlocks growth. Perfection is one of the most alluring myths we chase in life. We are told, either directly or subtly, that to be worthy to be loved or to be successful, we must be flawless. But perfection is an illusion, and chasing it keeps us stuck, disconnected, and fearful of our own stories. The truth is growth, connection, and authenticity are born not from perfection, but from embracing imperfection. Owning your story means seeing the beauty in the messy, the unfinished, and the real parts of your life. When we insist on perfection, we hide our vulnerabilities and suppress our truth. We avoid risks because failure might expose our flaws. We delay sharing our stories, thinking they are not good enough to be heard, and in doing so, we rob ourselves of the very experiences that could transform our lives. Embracing imperfection, on the other hand, frees us. It allows us to step into life fully, to try to fail, to learn, and to grow. It teaches us that our value is not in appearing perfect, but in being authentic. Imperfection is not a weakness. It is a doorway to creativity, courage, and resilience. Think about the times in your life when things didn't go as planned. Perhaps a project failed, a relationship ended, or a dream felt out of reach. Those moments, painful as they were, often became the very experiences that shaped your strength, wisdom, and character. Owning your story means recognizing that your flaws and mistakes are not liabilities. They are essential elements of your growth. They give you perspective, empathy, and depth that perfection could never provide. When we embrace imperfection, we also create space for self-compassion. We stop judging ourselves harshly for every misstep. For every moment we feel inadequate, we allow ourselves to say, I am human, I am learning, I am enough as I am. This mindset transforms not only how we relate to ourselves, but also how we relate to others. We become more forgiving, more patient, and more willing to connect authentically because we are no longer trapped in the pursuit of impossible standards. Moreover, embracing imperfection encourages courage. It allows us to take risks without fearing judgment, to speak our truth without waiting for validation, and to step into leadership, creativity, and connection without the pretense of being flawless. It shifts our focus from trying to control every outcome to trusting the process, learning from mistakes, and valuing progress over perfection. Finally, when owning your story with all its imperfections is liberating, it teaches us that life is not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about living fully, showing up authentically, and embracing the beauty in the messy, unfinished, and imperfect journey. Each flaw, each mistake, each awkward moment becomes a stepping stone to growth, connection, and true fulfillment. Remember, perfection is a myth, but growth is real. Embracing your imperfections allows you to reclaim your authenticity, your courage, and your power. Your story, just as it is, messy, flawed, and beautifully human, is enough. And in owning it fully, you unlock the door to transformation. Connection comes through authenticity. Connection is one of the deepest human needs we have. We crave it, search for it, and often sacrifice our own authenticity to gain it. But here's the truth: genuine connection does not come from pretending, performing, or fitting into someone else's idea of who we should be. Connection comes from authenticity. It comes from owning your story and showing up fully as yourself in every space and every relationship. When we try to present a polished, curated version of ourselves, we create distance instead of closeness. People may admire the image we project, but they cannot connect with it on a human level because it is not real. They connect with the messy, raw, honest parts of us, the stories of struggle, triumph, failure, and growth that reveal our humanity. Authenticity invites others to lower their guards, to be vulnerable themselves, and to meet us in a space of trust and understanding. Owning your story means embracing the parts of yourself you might have hidden, your fears, your mistakes, your dreams, and even your imperfections. It is in revealing these truths that others see you as real and relatable. When we allow ourselves to be seen, we create a ripple effect. The people around us feel safe to show up as their true selves. This is the foundation of deep, meaningful relationships, whether in friendship, family, romance, or the workplace. Connection through authenticity is not always comfortable. It requires courage because it opens us up to the possibility of judgment or rejection. But the alternative, hiding behind a facade, leaves us lonely, disconnected, and stuck in isolation. Vulnerability, when paired with authenticity, is the bridge that transforms relationships. It allows empathy, understanding, and compassion to flourish. When we share our story, we offer others a mirror in which they can see their own experiences reflected, and in that reflection, they find hope and belonging. Authenticity also strengthens professional and creative relationships. Leaders who embrace their true selves inspire trust, loyalty, and collaboration. Teams thrive when people can bring their whole selves to work without fear of shame or ridicule. Artists, writers, and innovators produce their most impactful work when they stop trying to conform and start honoring their unique voice and perspective. Connection and creativity are inseparable from authenticity. Ultimately, owning your story is a gift to both yourself and the world. When you step into your truth and share it openly, you cultivate relationships that are real, supportive, and transformative. You stop chasing approval and start seeking understanding. You stop hiding and start thriving. And in doing so, you discover that the bonds you build through authenticity are far stronger, more resilient, and more fulfilling than any connection built on pretense. Remember, people connect with people, not masks. Your story, shared honestly, is the bridge to empathy, trust, and love. When you show up authentically, you give others permission to do the same. Connection comes not from perfection or approval, but from the courage to be real, to be vulnerable, and to own your story fully. In authenticity, we find not only connection, but also the freedom to live our lives in alignment with who we truly are. Your story is your superpower. Your story is not just a collection of events. It is your superpower. Every experience you've lived through, every challenge you've faced, every mistake you've made, and every triumph you've celebrated has shaped the person you are today. Often, we underestimate the power of our own narrative, believing that our struggles make us weak or that our ordinary experiences are unremarkable. But the truth is, your story holds incredible strength, insight, and influence, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Owning your story allows you to reclaim the power that comes from living intentionally. When you acknowledge your past, embrace your present, and take responsibility for your journey, you transform challenges into lessons, failures into wisdom, and pain into purpose. Each chapter, even the difficult ones, equips you with resilience, empathy, and insight that can inspire others. Your story is a roadmap showing not only where you've been, but also illuminating the path forward. There is profound freedom in this ownership. When we stop hiding, denying, or apologizing for our experiences, we take control of our narrative. Instead of allowing shame, fear, or judgment to define us, We define ourselves. We can choose how to interpret our experiences, what to carry forward, and what to release. By embracing your story fully, you no longer live reactively. You live proactively, guided by self-awareness and the courage to be authentic. Your story also has the power to create impact. Think about the people who have inspired you in life, the leaders, artists, and teachers whose stories moved you. They weren't perfect, but they were courageous enough to own their truth and share it. When you share your story, you become a beacon for others. When you give permission for someone else to embrace their truth, to step out of fear, and to reclaim their own narrative, your story can heal, motivate, and transform, sometimes in ways you cannot even imagine. Moreover, your story is unique. No one else has lived your life, faced your challenges, or felt your emotions exactly as you have. This uniqueness is your strength. It is what makes your voice important and your perspective valuable. By claiming it, you move from simply surviving your experiences to thriving because of them. You transform your life into a platform for growth, contribution, and meaning. Finally, owning your story encourages gratitude and self-compassion. You begin to see the lessons in hardships, the courage in failures, and the growth in vulnerability. You recognize that every part of your journey, even the difficult chapters, has contributed to your strength and resilience. Your story, when fully embraced, becomes a source of empowerment. It reminds you of your capability, your worth, and your ability to influence the world positively. Remember, your story is not a burden. It is your superpower. The more you own it, the more you reclaim your strength, purpose, and authenticity. By embracing it fully, you inspire others to do the same. Your story changes not only your life, but the lives of everyone who encounters it. Step into it, claim it, share it, and watch how everything transforms when you recognize the power you have simply by being yourself. Conclusion, as we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to take a moment and reflect on what it truly means to own your story. Your story is not something to be hidden or apologized for. It is a testament to your courage, your resilience, and your humanity. Every experience, every triumph, every challenge has contributed to the person you are today. By embracing your story fully, you are giving yourself the greatest gift of all, the freedom to live authentically, to speak your truth, and to step into the world as your true self. Owning your story is not a one-time act. It is a lifelong practice. It requires courage to face your truths, vulnerability to share them, and compassion to forgive yourself for mistakes. But the rewards are profound. As you embrace your imperfections, expose your shame, and step into your authenticity, you create deeper connections with others and discover the immense power within yourself. Your story becomes a source of strength, a guide for your growth, and a beacon for those around you. Remember, your story has the power to transform not just your life, but the lives of everyone you touch. When you own your experiences, share your struggles, and celebrate your victories, you inspire others to do the same. Courage and authenticity are contagious. By stepping into your story fully, you give permission for others to embrace theirs. You remind them that it's okay to be human, to be imperfect, and to live boldly and unapologetically. As you move forward from today, I want you to carry this truth with you. Your story is your superpower. Do not underestimate it. Do not hide it. Every challenge you have faced, every lesson you have learned, and every moment of vulnerability you have shown adds depth, wisdom, and meaning to your life. By claiming your story, you reclaim your voice, your power, and your purpose. And in doing so, you create a life that is rich, authentic, and profoundly impactful. So take your story, own it, and share it with the world. Stand in your truth, embrace your imperfections, and allow your experiences to guide you toward a life of courage, connection, and fulfillment. Thank you for being here, for opening your heart, and for taking this step toward living authentically. I honor your journey, and I wish you courage, clarity, and confidence as you continue to write your story. Thank you, and goodbye.